Hello people of YouTube, it's Deephack here, and welcome to the live stream, the Deephack channel update, and DCS news with dotChuckles in just a moment. Oh hi, Stevie B, welcome to the stream. So, that was J-Dams in the F-16C. I hope that you all enjoyed that. Hello Tog, welcome to the stream. That was a bit of fun. I just showed you the GBU-38s, but of course the GBU-31s, the two different types, work in exactly the same way. And as I said in the video, this is very much an early access feature. It may be the case that soon I'm going to have to record an updated video for these, because the functionality will almost certainly change at some point. But until then, this stands. This is how you use them as of right now. What am I going to do for next week's video? I have not a clue what I want to do next. So I want you guys to kind of drive me a little bit in the right direction. What should I cover next? What would be the next most interesting thing to show you all? I guess I could show the handoff mode of the Mavericks. That would be a possibility. Or I could try to find a way of actually filming the joint helmet-mounted queuing system in air-to-air mode. That would be another very interesting one. So, you know what? I'm going to get a bit of audience participation. I'm going to let you guys decide. You can tell me what I should record for next week's video. Hello Byron, welcome to the stream. So, it is without any further kerfuffle that I invite on board, as always, the one and only dotChuckles.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome everyone. Yes, without any further shenanigans.
Yes, because I've been told that I'm not allowed to do without further ado.
Yes.
Because everybody says that. Everybody on YouTube says that for some reason. But I think it's a perfectly acceptable term.
Yeah, but when you use it every time, it starts to get a bit cringe. So we kind of have to stop doing it. So I think we should make a point of using a different word every week.
Should I perhaps start the live stream with something like, "It's Deephack here, as always"? Or should I not do that? Anyway,
No.
Cool. You get points in the chat if you figure out who I'm referencing. So, on with the DCS news. Let me bring up. As always, we're going to start with. I said it. We're going to start with the DCS newsletter. Quite a lot of repeated content here, really stuff that was already mentioned last week. Nonetheless, there's still some interesting morsels for us to dig our teeth into. So yeah, they talk about the summer sale, which we already played the superb video that Eagle released about last week.
Lovely video.
Lovely video, very, very nice. But this week we also have Leatherneck Simulations, who have been talking about the F4UD Corsair. Did I get that right? Yes. Mm-hmm. Every time I try to read that, I feel like I'm reading too many or too few characters. Heatblur Simulations have made notable progress on the F-14A/B Tomcat. We talked about this last week. It was a really sizable update on Leatherneck's side. Lots of really cool stuff going on.
With lots of stuff that made carrier landing a lot harder, because it's not hard enough as it is.
Thanks, Heatblur. More realistic, though.
Cheers! Yeah.
Byron is saying that I should begin with the Obi-Wan Kenobi, "Hello there."
Hello there.
Yes. We're pleased to announce that DCS C101 Aviojet by Aegis has moved into final release state. We also called this out last week. So, yes. They've popped some development screenshots. Oh, actually, the very first development screenshots, in fact, are the F4UD. So we've got some pictures here. In the newsletter, they call out the fact... They call out the fact that the F4UD doesn't have cockpit walls or a floor, which I didn't know this. And I'm kind of blown away that this is the reality. You see that you have basically these two little skis that you put your feet on.
Yes. God, I never knew that.
I didn't know that, and it seems like a really bad idea. Why did they do this? Why? You're gonna, like, I can just imagine, in the heat of combat, instead of grabbing the throttle, grabbing a hydraulic line or a power line or something and yanking on it and breaking it, or getting my foot jammed in the hydraulics.
Yeah, I know. Just like so much scope for things to go wrong with it.
Why did they do this? So yeah, actually, but back to the newsletter, they call out the F4. Here they call it the F4U-1. I'm going to assume that they got that wrong. It's one of the few aircraft without sidewalls and a floor. Because of this, many of the Corsair's vital components are exposed. Ooh, or misses. Using manufacturer's drawings, there's actually a few spelling mistakes in this, and original aircraft as references. The vast majority of panels, cables, pipes, and switches have been recreated to a high degree of detail. And I love the fact that they call out that they tested it in VR. Why?
Yes.
Why would they have to pay special attention to VR users, I wonder? Did they make a mistake with this before? Do you think there's ever been a mistake with this before, dotChuckles?
With VR, yeah, where things, aren't quite right.
Yes, indeed. I think that's super
accurate,
good.
Accurate secret documents.
Yes. Although, in fairness, this is not Eagle. This is Leatherneck.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. I lose track. Leatherneck. Is that the reincarnation, or is that the original name? Because there were somebody else named something else before.
So Leatherneck were originally the developers of the MiG-21 BIS. They later became Magnitude 3, but for some reason in the newsletter, the names are used interchangeably. So
yes.
So I don't know what that's all about.
Because I thought there was some kind of split, like the Beatles breaking up, and somebody got the rights to one name and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, because Leatherneck, a bunch of people split off of Leatherneck to create the Tomcat, and they became Heatblur. Heatblur was originally Leatherneck. And when that happened, what I'm assuming is that they continued to use the Leatherneck name for the MiG-21 because it was released by Leatherneck. And
right.
I assume Magnitude 3 is the publisher of the newer modules, but maybe Eagle don't know because they're using the name interchangeably.
It's...
It's confusing. And I think we talked about this earlier, and I think you made probably a very correct point in that we are probably the only people who care about this. Nobody else in the community probably pays any attention to what name the developer has.
Yeah. Branding, mate. Branding.
Yes, indeed. Oh, actually, Mark S. quite correctly states that the MiG was originally developed by Betzel Solutions. He was like a Hungarian guy. Took a bunch of pre-order money and didn't deliver, and then Leatherneck picked it up. So I believe the Betzel guy was not actually involved in finally delivering the MiG-21, but he was the guy who originally started the project. And nobody ever got that money, is my understanding. Leatherneck never saw that money.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
The plot.
That's yeah, I mean, that's been the way that, people have popped up and created lots of noise and interest and, maybe taken some pre-order money and then disappeared. I mean, I'm not sure if any money was exchanged hands, but does anybody remember the F-35 that was briefly in the works?
Briefly in the works, in so much as there was a forum post, and then I think the guy who posted it was immediately told no.
Well, no, because I think for a while he had an official third-party subforum. For a very short while. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, that being the case, someone certainly noticed and told him no. This is not happening.
Yeah.
Very interesting, though. Yeah, F-35. Yes, Car Toba confirms that he did have an official third party.
He did have an official third party, yeah, I'm sure he did, for like all of about 5 minutes.
Yes.
And then God.
Mark S is asking if the stream always starts at the same time. Sadly, it does not, because it's dependent upon my video premiere finishing. So some weeks my video is long, some weeks it's short, and so the news starts at different times, just to keep you on your toes. Anyway, back to the news. Systems development is largely completed. Hydraulics, electrics, basic weapon systems are operational. The AN Arc 5 radio and navigation equipment tests were completed earlier in the spring, and they're thinking about adding the AN/Arc 1 radio set. Not being familiar with that, I don't know what that means.
I guess it's a radio.
It's a radio.
You can talk to your buddies on it.
Yes, I would imagine so. And then we have a bit all about the F-14A/B Tomcat. All of this we talked about last week.
We talked about it last week. The campaign, though, is kind of new, isn't it? I don't think we mentioned that. The Fear the Bones campaign.
Yes, and in fact, that was released last week, so that was my bad for not putting it into the schedule. That was the campaign for the F-14A, which is very, very interesting. I need to start trying these out. I haven't played a campaign in a while.
Yeah, same. Every time we talk about campaigns, I go, I should really play some campaigns, and then don't. So
there's some really excellent work going on out there, and campaigns made by the community as well that are posted on the forums. If you play some campaigns, you may hear a familiar voice, because I have done the occasional bit of voice acting for some of these community campaigns. So points if you can find me in any of them. They'll also have a picture of the Viggen. Heatblur team is focused on developing the next update of the exciting Tomcat and Viggen features. I wonder what's coming to the Viggen. That would be very interesting. And as you mentioned, F-14A, Fear the Bones campaign by Reflected Simulations. Very, very cool. And again, as mentioned last week, I'm guessing that after the big drop last week, there's been like a kind of, this week has been quieter, because they're mentioning the C-101 again, which is very much worth mentioning. I've actually been flying this a little bit recently after not flying for a few years, and it's super good. And the nice little tidbit of information they call out here is that the Airgis team are now gearing up to accelerate work on their exciting upcoming new module, DCS Mirage F1.
Which, woofed, yes. Yeah, like mid-Cold War jet. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'll have some of that,
That's
please.
going to be... Yes, I would indeed. The C-101's really... That has transformed that jet.
Yes.
I mean, I think are we even sort of looking at it as a kind of a replacement for the L-39 as a primary trainer in the VAF? I mean, we've been mooting it, haven't we?
We currently have, like at the training ramp, we have both, and officially we use the L-39. But I like the C-101. I like it.
It's a little bit less steam powered. You know what I mean?
It's a bit more modern. It's definitely more Western. Has more compatible systems with the rest of the aircraft that we fly. And has a lot of nice little details.
And I think rear cockpit visibility is better as well.
Okay. I've actually not sat in the rear yet.
You're just a little bit more elevated than the L-39. You kind of have to peer around to see what you're doing if you're flying from the back with students. So
if you're going to be an instructor, you need to learn that head tilt.
Yeah. What the fuck are you doing, Johnny?
Yes, indeed. Player 3 has entered the chat.
Like, okay, every tornado. Like, if you look at the VAF Twitter, I posted a wonderful video for everyone on Team Tornado with an amazing tour of the cockpit of the Tornado. So go watch that after this. Stop being dicks. No, we love you. We love you.
Yes, please continue. Okay, the next segment, the update. There was a teeny tiny update this week. Mostly just hot fixes for the Hind, it would seem. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is there anything particularly worth calling out? There are things that were broken that are now not broken.
Yeah, and all of which that I can't say I actually even bothered, like, I'd come up against. So, yeah, as far as updates go, for me, it was a bit like, yeah,
But
whatever.
this is actually a good thing. The fact that they didn't need to do a big hotfix after it. I was having a discussion with some people on the VAF server while we were test flying the Hind, and we all agreed that this is probably one of the best day one releases that Eagle have done. Not that they've had all that many bad ones, but this was particularly good, I think.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of one better.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe even Tomcat. Of course, that's not
Tomcat
Eagle.
It's not Eagle. Tomcat was pretty good. I don't know if I'm having a bit of a rose-tinted spectacles moment, but the F-18 wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad. Less complete than this.
Yeah, less complete. But then the thing is this is more complete by dint of that there's not many systems on this airframe.
Yes.
Whereas, I mean, the F-18 is I mean, it's just packed full with computers and pages and bits and bobs and doodads, whereas the Hind is, I have engine, big gun.
True. Mark S is asking, do we think the Hind has the best cockpit, or is the F-14 still king?
Good question.
I'm going to very quickly answer by saying I think the F-14 is still king. However, the new kind of glass technology with reflections they're using in the Hind is very notable. Very, very good.
Yes. Yeah, so in fact, I think you pretty much exactly mirror my opinion of it. The F-14 is still king. The work that Heatblur did on texturing that cockpit is amazing. Texturing in the Hind comes close, but it's not quite there. It's still got that little bit of slightly gamey, cartoony feel to it. But the glass is incredible. And I tell you what, if Heatblur can get that tech into the F-14...
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be nice. So yeah, it's an absolutely solid module on day one, I think. And just look at this changelog for the hotfix. Look at this. That is 6 items, most of which, like 2 of them are adjustments to like the manual and quick start missions. It's like, that's pretty damn good.
But there's still some big problems with the Hind, namely multiplayer sync issues. There are systems that just aren't working. The test functionality is not working, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there's more to come. But yeah, what they gave us works,
Yes.
It's not like, that they gave us a bunch of features that were totally broken. And I think Cards points something out back in chat there, that the F-18 was missing almost everything, but what there was did work. So
true.
I think it's the same kind of thing.
Then you had the F-16, in which very little worked on day one.
Yeah, that was a harsh lesson for them, and they seem to have learned it. So
yeah, absolutely. Carr comments that the multi-crew in the Hind is pretty bad. Actually, I used it with our very own Frantic Stone, and we passed controls back and forth multiple times, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah, no, that works fine. Where it is if you both go in at launch and try and boot up the helicopter, you will see some fun things happen.
Oh, right. This is something I didn't notice very well. Okay.
Yeah, like electrics don't sync and all sorts of stuff.
Right. That's very interesting. Okay, so just don't do that.
Yeah, you can start it up and then you'll need to jump out and then jump back in and then it'll all be synced. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. On to the next item. We have the 2021 summer update from Leatherneck Magnitude Simulations 3. Which is what I'm going to call them from now on.
Yeah, that's their new name.
That's their new name. It's going to stick. I get really actually restating a bunch of the stuff that was in the Eagle newsletter. They're talking about the Corsair.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, this is super interesting. This is where the confusion came from. Leatherneck are calling it the F4U-1D, and Eagle were interchangeably calling it the F4U-1 and the F4U-D. So, yeah, I think
their copywriter was having a bad day, basically.
there was a bunch of... Actually, yeah, this is the first time I've noticed. This week's newsletter from Eagle had a bunch of strange errors in it, but hey, they were probably busy. So yes, the module is in final stages of development. Most of the artwork and systems programming is nearing completion. So really just restating what was in the Eagle one. Items that will be modelled during early access include armoured glass and an adjustable Mark 8 gun sight. How do you model armoured glass? It's just glass, isn't it? Oh, careful.
No.
Don't choke.
No, this has triggered me.
Okay.
Das Bar.
What?
Das Bar. You're not... okay, IL2 fans will know what I mean by Das Bar.
Okay.
So, there was the biggest shit fight on IL2 forums about the armoured glass in the front of... I think it was the F-190.
Oh.
Because people were saying, right, you could see there was like so how to explain it? Right, the panel, the armored glass panel, which is about yay thick, sat up against a piece of metal. Okay. And when they modeled the cockpit, you could see that piece of metal, and everybody was saying you shouldn't be able to see that because the light refracts through the glass, and then your view should start basically at the top of the control panel.
Okay.
And it was there was like just this massive shit fight between developers and forum members saying, no, that can't be, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that. And people were going, fucking look, I'm sitting in a cockpit. Here you go, camera. This is how you see it. Oh, well, that's not representative because you don't know the settings. Shut the fuck up. It's physics.
Okay. I feel like I've been schooled. Yes.
And it was this big thing, but yeah, the armored glass, you shouldn't be able to see, like it should look like your view basically starts at the top of the control panel, and not have like any of the canopy frame visible because refraction. So, so I wonder if that's what they're talking about.
I assume so. Yes, and now that you describe it, it makes a lot of sense. Like you can imagine the light, bending through the material.
So basically, when you actually sat in the cockpit, what you got was a minuscule green line along the bottom. But you couldn't see any of the. The frame and things like that. So, sorry, that was totally triggered mid-vape because it was a big deal for ages, and it was really, really annoying because there were so many people who just couldn't get their head around fucking high school physics, including a developer.
It is a very interesting point. So yeah, let's call out the fact that Leatherneck know about this and they're intending to model it properly, which is good.
I'm hoping that that's what they're talking about.
I think it must be. An adjustable Mark 8 gun sight. And then again, they repeat the thing about the different radios. We've got some nice pictures. Look at these nice pictures. Yes.
That water looks so good. Sorry, I know we should be looking at the plane, but the water looks great.
The water does look really good. Actually, everything in these screenshots looks really good. The aircraft looks really nice. This looks good. This looks really good. So, regarding the available ordnance and additional equipment, the full list of British and US bombs and rockets will be presented closer to release. We hope to toss in a few features that would make our F4U-1D very unique in the DCS World War II environment. So that's cool. They then go on to call out their Essex-class aircraft carrier. It's currently just a bunch of renders. Untextured renders. Nothing massively exciting here. But they want to make it possible to spawn inside the belly of the aircraft carrier, start up, bring it up to the main deck, and so on and so forth. This is something that Eagle have mentioned for the...
Nobody ever does. Why? It's not a thing.
It's not a thing? They don't... they would always be towed.
Yes! Nobody starts in the hangar.
Okay, fair enough. That's good. Because Eagle mentioned this a while back for the super carrier, but they were talking about having a tug. So you could start in the hangar, be tugged onto the lift, go up on the lift, blah blah blah. But also, I don't think you do that in real life. Is it not the case the pilots get in the aircraft on the deck?
Yeah. That's great. It's basically they get maneuvered and pulled around. Like the pilots don't even come up on the lift. Like the jet gets warmed up by deck crew, and then they climb in and do their pilot thing.
Yes.
I mean, the only time an engine gets started down there is when it's towed out the back of the round down, and they've got like a special area where they can mount the jet engine for testing and they can fire it up. But like, no, God, no, you wouldn't start an aircraft down there.
You're going to run out of air.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, this is in progress, undergoing extensive development. And then the last thing they call out, and this is one that I had forgotten or didn't know they were developing, but the Chance Vought F8J Crusader. And external model looks quite nice. Artists are busy with the Corsair. Programmers have been working diligently on the Crusader's radar system, and then they show us some pictures. Ground mapping functionality of the radar is very limited. The radar can be used for coastal mapping. And we have a screenshot, and you can see that's a coast. That's some hills.
This is kind of like a forgotten module because it was announced quite a while back.
I'd certainly forgotten.
And I want to say actually it might have been like more than 3 years ago. It might have been announced. Like I think it was a really long time, but there needs to be more excitement about this because the Corsair was a great aircraft. I mean, it was the last of the gunfighters. It was apparently an amazing dogfighters aircraft. And had a really interesting career in Vietnam. So there needs to be more excitement around the Corsair. I mean, it also looks really cool.
Well, this is the Crusader.
Sorry, yes.
Corsair was the previous one. I know what you mean.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
we have a little video. Do you want to see the little video? Oh, it's a bit noisy.
Yes.
There we go. Let's get rid of the noise. Is this even in game? Yeah, I guess this must be in game. Just mostly with untextured stuff.
I mean, that's super early. That's super early, isn't it?
Well, there's 3D modeling going on.
Yeah.
And this ground mapping simulation, I rather like this. This looks quite convincing to me.
But yeah, I mean, there should be more excitement for this jet because it's pretty storied and like for dogfighting, yum.
Yes.
Lots of guns, lots and lots of guns.
Oh yeah.
And I had a great system for launch where to give the wings the angle of attack off the deck, and I think on landing as well, that it could actually like break its back, and you can see like the whole wing box tilts up.
Wow.
And you get like a ridge along. It's like, yeah, it's very strange, but it was done for angle of attack, I think, so that the pilot wasn't landing with his like basically lying on his back, so they could drop down the whole fuselage, but have the wings stay. Very strange, but it looked cool. It looked really cool.
Sounds cool. And we finish this article with a laser scanned version of an Crusader cockpit.
Yeah, LiDAR. Nice. LiDAR, this seems to be the big photogrammetry and stuff like that seems to be the big thing right now. I mean, I don't know if didn't Heat Blur use photogrammetry in the F-14, which is why it looks so damn good. I don't know. Could be wrong.
I'm not sure. Like, I know that Razbam did it quite a bit. They've done it for the Mirage 2000C, and they've also done it for the AV-8B, and also they supposedly for both those aircraft they also laser scanned the pilot wearing all of his gear, which is kind of cool.
But I mean, of course, with photogrammetry, you also get color data and really, really accurate color data and things like that. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. So, speaking of Razbam, what a seamless link! We have some pictures. We have some pictures of the BO-105, and Razbam are. Sorry, I got a Facebook message and it totally distracted me. Razbam are the ones doing the modelling, internal and external, for this particular module. So they've posted some pictures on their Facebook, and we've got some pictures of the overhead here, and some nice pictures of some quite well textured switches and other bits and bobs. The actual developer of this module is Meltech 5, which I believe used to be Polychop. This is another case where I'm starting to get confused with who's developing what.
Yeah, we need like an episode of Behind the Hits, yes. Like to talk about like.
So who is this?
Just like like the kind of episode they did on Fleetwood Mac, like charting who left when and who's this and
yes.
It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, I can't keep track anymore. Anyway, blokes that are developing this helicopter, like if we go with that, then we know that what we're talking about.
Exactly. So yeah, there's a bunch of people who are actually developing the helicopter, and then there's Razbam who are doing modelling, because they have quite a bit of expertise in that area. So, and that's it. It was just a few developmental shots that they've posted onto their Facebook.
And there's a link, I think there's a link with the Typhoon as well, because somebody who's been modelling this is, I think, modelling the Typhoon.
That's, I believe so, yes. I think they have some involvement with the Typhoon.
Yeah, the 3D modeller's the same, I think.
Yeah. So that was that one, and then also this was kind of interesting. The Marianas map is showing in the multiplayer drop-down menu in DCS World as of now, and a bit of speculation here. People are suggesting it's maybe part of the closed beta testing.
Yeah. So that means we might not be far off getting our hands on it.
The screenshots they've shown of it so far have certainly looked pretty good and fairly complete.
Yeah.
So could be the case. Could be the case. So that would be exciting. Something that I actually didn't mention earlier, but I should have done, is that with the hotfix that we had this week, Eagle also brought Stable Branch up to the same version. So Stable Branch has the hind, which is rather exciting. So, yes.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we were at parity. Like,
well, there have been periods where they've been out of sync for quite a period of time, but now that's twice when they've brought it in sync fairly quickly.
Yeah,
because they brought it in sync a little while after the clouds had been stabilised, and now they just brought it in sync again so that stable people can have the hind.
But before the clouds, it was like I'm sure it was a really long time when the stable branch was not updated. Like where they weren't in parity.
Yeah. I seem to remember that too. It seems to be a little while. So that now brings us to a YouTube video. This is one that you sent me the link to, dotChuckles. The DCS World Player Survey results and the king of DCS. This is a video that was posted up by Spudknocker. fairly recently, I assume. And I actually didn't know anything about this, otherwise I would have probably taken part. He was apparently running a survey of DCS users. And Spudknocker, everybody should be familiar with, has a really nice channel where he posts up quite a lot of his flights that he does in the F-18 and F-16 and some other aircraft. And he was doing a kind of large-scale survey of DCS users. And he, in this video, is kind of calling it out as a fantastic source of information for developers and people in the community. And I wonder. I wonder.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you haven't seen Spudknocker's content, go and subscribe to him because he's really good and his stuff is entertaining.
Yes.
So I want to be careful here because don't want to think that we're down on Spudknocker or anything like that.
No, absolutely
because we're not. No. And I think what he's done here has been a really good effort, and I think it's given some interesting results and some things that are really worthwhile talking about. Where I worry a little is that I don't think it's in any way representative of the DCS community.
Yes.
And he's also saying that he's been contacted by third-party developers to, get a feel for the pulse of the community, for guidance, and get a feel for the pulse of the community. And based on some of the things we're going to talk about, I would worry a little bit that that might not be the best thing to base it on this survey. But we'll get into that. I mean, I think what he did was fantastic. Good on him for getting it organized and going to the effort and producing a really detailed video about the results. But yeah, I worry statistically about it.
Oh yes, and speaking about statistically, let's talk about exactly what this is. So he got somewhere in the region of 1,300 people to respond to his survey, and he asks them a bunch of questions, very interesting questions about things like: do you play single player? Do you play multiplayer? Which modules do you fly? What kind of hardware do you have? What kind of control setups do you have? All that sort of stuff. And he finds some very, very interesting statistics that seem to be quite contrary to what we already believed to be the case and had been stated by Eagle Dynamics is the case. So he finds that in actual fact quite a lot of people are very, very interested in multiplayer and play multiplayer.
But he even acknowledges that is his community bias coming through in that section. He says, "Okay, this is my community bias." But I think the thing is that the other responses are all directly related to the fact that over 50% of the people that responded to his survey play multiplayer.
Yes.
And as a result, are using aircraft that are used in a multiplayer environment. With the majority of the servers that are running like multiplayer.
Yes.
So yeah.
And the majority of these servers are running PvE, modern day, with mostly advanced Western aircraft. There are quite a few problems with this survey. For one thing, I would say that it's far too small a number of respondents. We were trying to do some maths earlier about how many people actually play DCS World, and of course nobody has an answer to that question apart from Eagle. But we suspect it's somewhere in the region of like 70 to 100,000 people. It's going to be something like that.
Where that number has come from is it has been reported that there are over 75,000 registered users on the Eagle Dynamics website, on the forum. Now, granted, some of those are going to be duplicate accounts, some of those are going to be inactive accounts, and some of those might be people who are interested but don't yet play the game. However, they're still going to, that's only the people who bothered themselves to go and find the official developers forum, because bear in mind, we've got places like Hoggit, There's other flight sim forums, where I think there is perhaps more, and up until less recently, less draconian moderating tactics, which they have fixed. So I think, if we can say that, that's a huge number of people.
Yes.
Yes. I went on and checked just before we went on air how many. Bear in mind that we are in prime time. It's Saturday evening in Europe. So we're in prime multiplayer gaming time.
Yes.
There was about 2,000 active players in multiplayer. There was about 1,000 active servers. So that's about an average of 2 people per server.
Yeah.
Which was the case when I scrolled down. There was a few servers that had some big numbers in it, the sort of the usual suspects. But to my mind, that kind of backs up what ED says, is that multiplayer is a very small percentage of DCS players.
Mm-hmm.
And what we saw with this survey was a big response from multiplayer players, because that's the people that view his content. Yes. And it's good content, and I understand why they view it, but I don't think it represents the community.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, a concern that I have is, of course, this is a very statistically insignificant number of responses, which you can still learn a lot from that if you have good distribution of the respondents. So and I want to start by saying I'm no statistician, but this is my understanding, is that if you want to poll the feelings of a particular group of people, and you don't want to ask every single person, because of course in most cases that's not feasible, then you take a subset like this number of respondents would be fine if the distribution of the respondents equaled the distribution of the larger group, and clearly it doesn't. And so as such, this data is pretty much useless. But, interesting nonetheless, I guess.
Yeah, like again, I mean, I don't want to knock Spud Knocker. He's a great guy.
Yes.
But I worry that this being held up as a source of marketing information for third-party developers means that there is potential that things we might have seen, if it, might not happen, and that potentially interesting modules might not get developed. That's my worry, because this is representative of his viewers that all play multiplayer, which is not in any way representative of the full Eagle Dynamics community. It might be, that's the thing, but we cannot say that from this survey, because it's not a scientific, it's not a properly conducted survey with representation and distribution.
Yeah.
So I would be really, really careful. However, I mean, I know we've just spent like the last 5 minutes totally knocking it. And I apologize, Spud Knocker. Sorry,
yes.
You're a great guy. But however, I think there is really useful and interesting information in this survey. The thing that jumped out to me was how seriously committed players are in terms of the money that they spend.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the response around like the sort of the peripherals and the hardware that they've got. I mean, there's some big money getting spent here.
34.1% of respondents spent more than $2,000 on their computer.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So where I think there is interesting, interesting data, useful data here, is that I think people who are playing multiplayer and playing competitively, they've got money to spend because they're clearly doing it.
Oh yeah.
So, I think if anything, like pushing multiplayer in DCS needs to be a thing, and ED really needs to look at the results of this survey and see that, well, hang on, wait a minute, the people that are playing multiplayer, which was the majority of people who answered the survey, they've got money to spend and they're interested in these things.
They're driving hardware sales. They're driving hardware sales, and maybe that's an opportunity for Eagle Dynamics to have partnerships with hardware manufacturers, as I know they do with Thrustmaster and so on.
Exactly that, but I mean, I think as well, if if you look at, like, okay, where we can look at module development is, I think if a third-party developer wanted to do something that was very focused on multiplayer, then this survey is the perfect survey to look at.
Yes,
that's what I would say. But the problem is that I don't think there's the sales to drive a module that is entirely focused on multiplayer. Eagle Dynamics has confirmed there isn't the market.
No. But
if you were going to, this is the survey to do it. And definitely, I think, as you say, multiplayer is driving sales of flight sim hardware. So there is a market there that needs to get tapped, and ED needs to be pushing multiplayer more.
I would love to see them do that, because I play multiplayer. I'm one of the minority who primarily, actually, I almost entirely play DCS multiplayer. I hardly ever run single player, and I don't consume campaigns particularly. So I'm an unusual DCS world player. But I have this fantastic group around me, which we'll talk about at the end of the segment. But I would love to see more people playing multiplayer. But I understand why people don't, because they want a kind of quite controlled, repeatable experience. They want a curated experience. They want something with really good voice acting and a cool story and interesting things to do. Yeah. Because I'm one of those people who loves simulation as a sandbox in which to try things out. I'm a sandbox player. Most people are not. Most people want to start the game and be told what to do. There's a story. There's a role that I have to play. There's an objective that I need to achieve. I'm not that kind of gamer.
And I think serious hardcore aircraft enthusiasts are going to be the kind of people that are playing multiplayer. People like you and me. Like, I am very much like, when I watched the results coming in on this video, I was like, yeah, I agree with that. That's how I would answer. I would have been in the middle of the bell curve, in this survey, absolutely down the line. And so it's not that, I just, I'm looking at the results and disagreeing with it and going, I don't think it's right, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to knock it. It's not that at all, because I am the respondent. It was like looking at this, everybody going, yep, agree. It's just that it's not representative of the community, and we can't claim that it's representative of the community, and I would be reluctant to base development decisions on it. But it's still very interesting, and I still think there is useful data that can come out of the survey.
Absolutely. So, I think that's that's the point that I want to finish on there. Is that this survey is good, it's correct, it's just not representative. And we would be loath for anything strange to happen because of it.
Like I say, Spuddocker, lovely guy, love your stuff, mate. There's great stuff here. Just I think careful how you use it, I think, is probably the best thing I could say.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. And that is all of the kind of normal news segments that we have for this week. But as I kind of trailed just a little bit there, I wanted to take a moment once again to talk about the Virtual Air Force. Since the last time we mentioned it, did we mention it for the first time last week or the week before? I forget now.
I think we sort of quietly mentioned it, and then we mentioned the Twitter.
Yes, and the Discord.
And the Discord.
Since we've been mentioning it, we've seen an explosion of people visiting the Discord, and I would like to once again have a call to action and encourage you all to come to the Discord, because it's a great place to fly. Like I said, I prefer to fly in multiplayer. I prefer to fly with a group of people using SRS, using somewhat realistic comms, and trying to do nice missions with multiple flights in a package and things like that. Different people trying to do their bit to complete an overall objective. And the Virtual Air Force delivers on that, and it's super good fun. So we're always looking for more people to come and fly with us. Please consider coming and joining us. It's a hell of a good time.
Yes, yeah, we are flying together reasonably casually at the moment, but we have lots of things in planning and development that are going to be coming pretty soon. That for those who want it, we're going to be moving into a more milsim, more tactical realism area. But there will always be a space for people and organized flights for people who would just want to kick back and fly with some buddies. So you can do that too. And if you can, follow our Twitter as well. We are Air Force of AF. I am trying to put out news and interesting things every day for you to keep an eye on. So go follow there as well.
Absolutely. And something also interesting to mention is, if you don't fly in DCS but you want to be involved, we now have we have LOT ATC, so we have the ability to support human air traffic controllers, human ground coordinated intercept people, all kinds of stuff like that. So there is space for people who don't fly but otherwise want to be involved in a milsim style environment. So keep that in mind.
So we'd love to see you. Come join us.
Please do. Please do. And that's the end of the DCS newscast. I hope that you all enjoyed that. As always, I would like to call out this fine gentleman over here. dotChuckles has a Twitch channel. Please show him some love. Follow him or subscribe or whatever it is you do on Twitch.
Do you like the PlayStation?
Do you like the PlayStation? I like the PlayStation.
I like the PlayStation. Yeah, I've not been doing much with Twitch recently just because it has been a very, very busy time. But come follow, and when I get back to it, it'll be good to see you there.
Please do, please do. And should we mention a certain YouTube channel? It's maybe a little early.
Might be a little bit early, so we're just going to tease that there's going to be a new YouTube channel with some interesting content coming.
Yes,
but it's perhaps a little bit early, so we'll just I'll just
we'll leave that there.
Flick the nipple as a little tease.
Very good, sir. Very good. And of course, I actually haven't been streaming over the course of the last week, as Tog pointed out. I've been a little bit too busy as well, but I do intend to continue doing my streaming. Sometimes I'm streaming flying, sometimes it's a bit of Escape from Tarkov, but you'll catch me on my YouTube channel streaming from time to time. Otherwise, every Saturday, as I have tonight, I will have a premiere of an F-16 video. I actually don't know what I'm going to do next week. I might show you Maverick handoff, or I might show you the joint helmet-mounted queuing system in the F-16. But the tutorial series for the F-16 will continue, followed as always by the DCS news. And that's it for tonight, everyone. So, as always, be good to each other, be kind, fly safe, and I'll see you all next time.